The silver-hulled Tekra ship slid into Earth's orbit silently, its adaptive camouflage reflecting the darkness of space. Inside, Commander Day paced the bridge, his scaled skin catching the blue light of the ship's monitors. He'd led hunting parties across 17 galaxies, but Earth represented something special, a planet with intelligent life that still hadn't mastered interstellar travel. Primitive but resourceful, Day muttered, studying the holographic projection of Earth's continents. His second-in-command, Officer Rock, approached with a respectful bow. "The scouts report ideal landing conditions in the northern hemisphere," Rock said. "Dense forest cover, minimal technology signatures, perfect for our purposes." Day nodded, his four eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of satisfaction among the Tekra. Around him, the 12 members of his hunting party prepared their gear. Each hunter wore a ceremonial vest adorned with small tokens, bone fragments, teeth, claws, trophies, from their most challenging kills across the stars. "Remember," Day addressed his team, "these humans have never encountered superior species. They believe themselves to be the apex predators of their world." A ripple of amusement passed through the gathered hunters. Officer Tech, the weapons specialist, tested the calibration on his pulse rifle. "Will they even provide sport? Our reports suggest they rely on crude projectile weapons." "Never underestimate adaptive intelligence," Day cautioned. "That's why we're here. Any species that rises to dominance on their world deserves our respect before they earn their place in our trophy collection." The landing vessels departed the mothership at midnight local time, their descent masked by a passing weather system. They touched down in a remote valley surrounded by towering pine trees, the kind of wilderness humans rarely ventured into. The air smelled different from any world they'd visited, rich with oxygen and organic compounds. As the hunters established their base camp, they activated a perimeter of sensor drones, tiny floating spheres that would alert them to any approaching life forms. Their equipment unpacked swiftly under the moonlight: shelter domes, weapons racks, and the preservation chambers for their eventual trophies. "Movement detected," announced Quan, the scout leader, his fingers dancing across his wrist display. "A primitive vehicle approaching along what appears to be a dirt road, approximately 7 kilometers from our position." Officer Rock smiled, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. "Shall we greet the locals?" "Patience," Commander Day counseled. "First, we observe. Learn their patterns. The hunt is sweeter when you understand your prey." Little did the Tekra realize that their arrival hadn't gone unnoticed. Beyond the mountain range that sheltered their landing site, a military research facility had picked up unusual energy signatures during their descent. Inside a hardened bunker 50 meters below ground, Captain June stared at satellite imagery showing a heat bloom where no heat should exist. "Run it again," he ordered the technician seated before the bank of monitors, "and expand the spectrum analysis." The young woman nodded, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "Sir, whatever it is, it's not showing up on conventional radar, but the gravitational sensors are detecting a mass inconsistency." Captain June reached for the secure phone on the wall. This wasn't a weather anomaly or equipment malfunction. 20 years in special defense had taught him to trust his instincts, and every nerve in his body was firing warning signals. "Get me General Tay," he said when the line connected. "Authorization code Blue Hawk. We have a potential first contact scenario." As June spoke, the Tekra hunters were completing their preparations. Commander Day had selected his favorite hunting blade, a curved weapon forged from metals not found in Earth's periodic table. He tested its edge against his thumb, drawing a drop of greenish fluid that he wiped ceremonially across his forearm. "Tomorrow," he told his assembled team, "we begin. Cataloging specimens, remember our traditions, respect the prey that fights well, and collect only the worthiest trophies." The hunters raised their blades in salute, their excited murmurs filling the night air. None of them noticed the small drone hovering high above the forest canopy, a prototype surveillance unit deployed from the research facility, its heat signature masked and its cameras recording everything. Back at the facility, Captain June watched the live feed with growing concern. Get me everything we have on defensive measures, he told his team, and contact Special Forces units within a 100-mile radius. Tell them this is not a drill. As the night deepened, both sides prepared, the hunters for what they believed would be an easy collection of exotic trophies, and the humans for what could become the most important defense operation in Earth's history. The game had begun, but the rules were not what the Tekra expected. They had come to Earth seeking prey, unaware that the tables were about to turn dramatically. Dawn broke over the forest with streams of golden light filtering through the trees. The Tekra hunting party gathered around Commander Day, who projected a three-dimensional map of the surrounding area from his wrist device. We'll divide into 3 teams, Day announced, pointing to different sectors of the map. Team 1 will head north toward the water source. Animals always gather there. Team 2 will explore the eastern ridge where our sensors detected several large heat signatures. Team 3 will remain mobile, following any promising trails we discover. The hunters nodded, checking their weapons and cloaking devices. Each carried specialized equipment, paralyzing darts, sound suppressors, and trophy collection kits complete with preservation fluid. Remember, Day reminded them, we're looking for prime specimens. The goal isn't quantity, but quality. 7 miles away, a group of forest rangers was starting their morning patrol. Among them was Hana, a compact woman with quick eyes and quicker reflexes. Before joining the ranger service, she'd spent 8 years in special operations, skills. She kept sharp even in peacetime. Something feels off today, she told her partner Ben as they walked the trail. Ben was about to laugh it off when their radio crackled to life. All rangers, be advised. Military has reported unusual activity in the northern quadrant. Keep your eyes open and report anything out of the ordinary immediately. Hana and Ben exchanged glances. Military involvement? That's new, Ben said. Let's check it out. Hana suggested, already changing direction to head north. Something in her gut told her this wasn't a routine alert. The Tekra Team 2 moved silently through the trees, their cloaking technology rendering them nearly invisible. A slight distortion. In the air was the only sign of their presence. Scout leader Quan led the way, his sensor indicating warm-blooded creatures ahead. 2 bipeds approaching, he whispered into his communication device. Moving steadily in our direction. Perfect, replied Officer Rock. Our first specimen collection. Remember the protocol, observe first, then isolate and capture. Commander Day wants at least one alive for study. The hunters spread out in a classic ambush formation, their excitement building. Back on their home planet, tales of this hunt would bring them great honor. Hana stopped suddenly, holding up her hand to signal Ben. Did you hear that? Ben shook his head. Hear what? Not sure. A sort of clicking sound. Not like any animal. I know. She unholstered her sidearm. Standard procedure in areas with dangerous wildlife, but something told her this wasn't about wolves or bears. The forest had gone unnaturally quiet. No birds sang, no squirrels chattered. Call it in, she whispered to Ben. Tell base we're investigating unusual silence in Sector 7. As Ben reached for his radio, a shimmer in the air caught Hana's eye, like heat rising from pavement, but moving with purpose. Her combat instincts kicked in immediately. Get down, she shouted, tackling Ben to the ground just as something whizzed over their heads, embedding itself in a tree trunk. A dart of some kind, dripping with blue liquid. The Tekra, realizing their cover was compromised, disabled their cloaking devices. 4 towering figures appeared around the rangers, their scaled skin reflecting the dappled sunlight, weapons raised. Ben gasped in shock, fumbling with his radio. Base, we have... He never finished the sentence. A silent projectile hit him in the chest and he convulsed once before going still. Hana rolled behind a fallen log, her military training taking over. These weren't humans in costumes. Their movements were too fluid, their proportions wrong. First contact with alien life, and it was trying to kill them. One of the creatures approached Ben's motionless form, producing a gleaming blade from its belt. Hana knew what was about to happen. She'd seen trophy hunters on Earth do similar things. Without hesitation, She fired 3 rapid shots. The first, 2 seemed to glance off the creature's armor, but the third found a gap near its neck. Green fluid sprayed from the wound, and the alien, Quan, let out a shrieking cry that echoed through the forest. The other Tekra turned toward the sound. Momentarily distracted, Hana used those precious seconds to break cover and run, zigzagging between trees as projectiles thudded into the ground behind her. One human escaped. Officer Rock barked into his communicator. And Quan is injured. Their weapons can penetrate. Our armor at close range. Commander Day's voice came back sharp with concern. How badly hurt? The human hit a vulnerable spot. We need to get him back to the medical unit immediately. Quan writhed on the ground, green blood pulsing between his fingers as he clutched his neck. The concept that a primitive species could wound one of their elite hunters was inconceivable. Meanwhile, Hana ran with everything she had, her lungs burning. She had to reach the research station. They needed to know what they were dealing with. These weren't simple hunters. They were intelligent, organized, and deadly. Back at base, Colonel Sung received the emergency signal from Bin's radio. Cut, off mid-transmission. When he couldn't re-establish contact, he immediately triggered the response protocol they'd prepared through the night. Movement in sectors 4 and 7, reported a technician, and we've lost contact with Ranger Team 3. Deploy all available units, Sung ordered, and get me Captain June. Tell him his alien theory was right, and they're not here for friendly conversation. As military forces mobilized, Hana pushed through her exhaustion, knowing she carried vital information. She'd seen the enemy up close. She knew they could bleed. And most importantly, she knew humanity wasn't dealing with trophy hunters who played fair. They were facing predators who'd come to harvest humans like game animals. What the Tekra didn't realize was that humans had been predators themselves for thousands of years. And unlike the aliens' previous prey, humans knew exactly how to fight back when cornered. Commander Day paced the perimeter of their base camp, frustration evident in every step. The hunting expedition was not proceeding according to plan. Their prey had vanished like morning mist, the usual tracking methods yielding nothing but empty forest trails and abandoned shelters. It makes no sense, Officer Rock complained, studying the holographic map hovering above his wrist device. The human population density readings indicated abundant targets in this region. Now there's nothing. Not even their primitive vehicles. On the nearby roads. Day clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. They've gone to ground, but why? His gaze shifted to the medical pod where Scout Leader Quan lay recovering from his wound. Could it be they recognized us as non-terrestrial? Impossible. Rock dismissed the idea. Our intelligence indicated they have no confirmed contact with other species. They're isolated, primitive. The communications officer approached, his posture tense. Commander, long-range sensors are detecting multiple small aircraft approaching. From the south, they're maintaining low altitude following terrain contours to avoid detection. Day's 4 eyes narrowed. Interesting. Perhaps not so primitive after all. Miles away, within the reinforced walls of the research facility, Colonel Sung briefed his hastily assembled response team. The room was filled with the elite, special forces operators, technical specialists, and intelligence officers, each selected for their specific skills and high security clearance. What you're about to hear stays in this room, Sung began, his voice steady, despite the extraordinary circumstances. 24 hours ago, we detected an unidentified craft entering Earth's atmosphere. 6 hours ago, Ranger Hana encountered non-human entities in the northern forest sector. We are dealing with what appears to be an extraterrestrial hunting party. The room remained silent, though he could see the shock register on their faces. Hana stepped forward, her uniform still dirty from her escape through the forest. They have advanced technology, some kind of cloaking ability that makes them nearly invisible. They took down my partner with a projectile weapon that worked almost instantly. She paused, gathering herself. But they can be hurt. Their blood is green, and their neck area seems vulnerable. Captain June expanded on her report. Our working theory is that they're here to hunt humans as trophies. They've established a base camp here. He pointed to a topographic map on the wall, and appear to be operating in teams of 3 to 4. A Special Forces commander named Gill spoke up. What's our objective? Capture? Elimination? Primary objective is protection of civilian populations, Sung replied firmly. Secondary is gathering intelligence on their capabilities and intentions. Our approach needs to be measured. We're dealing with technology we don't fully understand. With respect, sir, Hana interjected, these aren't diplomats. I watch them prepare to cut up my partner for souvenirs. They're hunters, and right now we're the game. Sung nodded grimly. Which is why we'll use their nature against them. Lieutenant Do, outline the plan. A tall woman stood, her movements precise. We've evacuated all civilians within a 20-mile radius under the guise of a chemical spill. We're deploying 4 special tactics units to establish a perimeter around the alien camp. Our advantage is knowledge of the terrain and their apparent underestimation of our capabilities. Back at the Tekra camp, Commander Day had ordered expanded hunting zones. 3 teams now ranged far beyond their original boundaries, seeking any sign of their elusive prey. Remember, Day instructed over the communication network, these humans may be more alert than expected. Use full stealth protocols. Team 3, led by Officer Tech, moved through a densely wooded valley when their sensors detected movement ahead. Switching to thermal vision, Tech identified a solitary human figure moving deliberately through the trees, carrying what appeared to be a weapon. Single specimen located, Tech reported quietly, moving to intercept. The team split up, circling to cut off the human's escape routes. With practiced efficiency, they closed the trap. The human, a soldier named Jin wearing camouflage fatigues, appeared to be searching the forest floor when the first paralyzing dart struck his leg. Jin collapsed almost instantly, though not before triggering something on his wrist. The Tekra hunters approached cautiously, remembering what had happened to Quan. This one has better equipment than the others, Tech observed, noting the soldier's gear. Military designation, perhaps. A more worthy trophy. Rather than killing him immediately, they secured the paralyzed soldier and transported him back to their camp for interrogation. Commander Day was particularly interested in learning more about human defensive capabilities before continuing the hunt. When Jin regained consciousness, he found himself secured to a metal frame inside the alien base. Commander Day stood before him, studying him with clinical interest. "You understand me?" Day asked, his translation device converting his clicks and whistles into rough human speech. Jin said nothing, his face betraying no emotion despite his fear. "Your silence is unnecessary," Day continued. "We've studied your global communication networks. We know your capabilities, your weapons, your defenses. You are alone against superior technology." To Day's surprise, Jin smiled. "If you really knew our capabilities, you wouldn't be here." The commander leaned closer. "Explain." "We've been watching the skies for centuries, planning, preparing. Did you think you were the first to visit? That we wouldn't have protocols in place?" A flicker of uncertainty crossed Day's features. Their intelligence had indicated no prior contact, no established defense systems against extraterrestrial threats. "You're bluffing," Day said, but doubt had crept into his voice. Jin's smile never wavered. "The beacon in my equipment activated. The moment your dart hit me, every move you make is being tracked. Every piece of technology you use is being studied. You thought you were hunting us? That's exactly what we wanted you to think." Outside the Tekra camp, hidden among the trees and rocks, 4 Special Forces teams had indeed moved into position. Each soldier carried experimental weapons developed from recovered fragments of previous unacknowledged alien encounters. Technology, kept secret from the public but maintained for exactly this scenario. Captain June checked his tactical display, confirming all teams were in position. "Phase 1 complete," he whispered into his secure comm unit. "Prepare for first contact protocol." As dawn approached, the Tekra would discover a fundamental truth about their chosen prey. Humans had evolved not just as hunters, but as survivors who learned from every threat. And they had been preparing for this day far longer than the aliens could have imagined. The first explosion shattered the pre-dawn silence, sending birds scattering from treetops in panicked flocks. Commander Day rushed from the interrogation chamber to find chaos erupting across the Tekra camp. One of their weapons caches had detonated, scattering equipment and creating a wall of flames that illuminated the forest. "Status report," he barked into his communicator. Officer Rock's voice came back fragmented through bursts of static. "Perimeter breach in Sector 4 and 5, and they're coming from all directions." Impossible, Day thought. Their sensors should have detected any approach, yet when he checked the security feeds he saw nothing but empty forest surrounding their position. "They've adapted to our cloaking technology," Officer Tech said, rushing to Day's side. The human prisoner wasn't bluffing. A second explosion ripped through their communications array, sending debris flying across the camp. 3 of the hunting party were down, green fluid pooling beneath their motionless forms. "Secure the prisoner," Day ordered. But when they returned to the interrogation chamber, Jin was gone. The restraints hanging empty, sliced through with what appeared to be a laser-cutting tool remarkably similar to their own technology. Outside, the camp's burning perimeter, Captain June watched through night vision goggles as the Special Forces teams executed their carefully orchestrated attack. Each soldier wore experimental gear reverse-engineered from fragments of technology recovered from previous unacknowledged encounters, cloaking suits that bent light around their bodies, rendering them nearly invisible even to the aliens' advanced sensors. "Team 2, move to Phase 3, June ordered quietly. "Team 4, extract the package." "Package secure," came the response in his earpiece. Jin had been successfully retrieved during the initial confusion of the attack. The human forces weren't just attacking blindly, they were systematically dismantling the aliens' technological advantage. Each explosion targeted specific systems, identified through overnight analysis of the surveillance data. Inside the burning camp, Day tried desperately to rally his hunters. "Fall back to the landing vessels," he ordered. "We'll regroup and call for extraction." Officer Tech rushed to the communications console. "Commander, I can't reach the mothership. Something's blocking our signal." High above Earth's atmosphere, a constellation of military satellites had been repositioned overnight, creating a targeted jamming field around the aliens' location. The technology had been developed for theoretical defense scenarios, never deployed until now. "Keep trying," Day insisted, "and prepare the remaining weapons. If they want to fight, we'll show them what it means to face the galaxy's apex predators." But even as he spoke, another hunter fell, struck by a projectile that somehow penetrated their body armor. When Day examined the weapon, he discovered with shock that it was modified from their own technology. Somehow the humans had adapted their equipment in mere hours. "We need to move," Officer Rock urged. "This position is compromised." The remaining Tekra gathered what supplies they could salvage and retreated toward their secondary landing site. They moved with the practiced efficiency of experienced hunters, but for the first time they felt what their countless prey across the stars had felt. The cold fear of being stalked by something deadly and unseen. As they crested a hill, Officer Imam Tech suddenly clutched his chest, green fluid seeping between his fingers. He looked down in confusion before collapsing. No sound, no flash, just death arriving silently from the shadows. "Scatter," Day ordered, and the remaining hunters split apart, each taking a different route through the dense undergrowth. Ranger Hana watched through the scope of her modified rifle as the aliens dispersed. After her escape and report, she'd been assigned to a special tactical unit given her first-hand experience with the creatures. The weapon in her hands had been created overnight by the research facility's engineering team, a hybrid of human, firearms and components recovered from the dead alien in the forest. "Target 3 moving northeast," she reported quietly into her headset. "Permission to engage?" "Granted," came Colonel Sung's calm voice. "Remember, we need at least one alive for questioning." Hana tracked the fleeing figure through her scope, adjusted for wind and squeezed the trigger. Another hunter fell. Commander Day heard the death cry of his companion through his communicator and increased his pace, pushing through the underbrush with desperate speed. How had everything gone so wrong? Their intelligence had been faulty, catastrophically so. These humans weren't primitive prey. They were adaptive, resourceful, and terrifyingly quick to learn. He reached for his emergency beacon, a last resort device that would signal the mothership to initiate an emergency extraction regardless of protocol. As his fingers closed around it, he heard a soft voice behind him. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Day whirled to find himself facing a small, human female, the same one who had wounded Quan in the forest. She held what appeared to be one of the Tekra's own weapons, modified and rebuilt for human hands. More shocking was the shimmer of a cloaking field around her, their technology turned against them. "How?" he managed to ask. Hana's face showed no fear, only focused determination. "You're not the first visitors we've had, just the first who made the mistake of hunting us." Around them, more figures appeared as cloaking fields deactivated, revealing a full squad of Special Forces operators with weapons trained on the alien commander. "Your ship has been contained," Hana continued. "Your hunting party is neutralized. You have two choices: surrender and answer our questions or join your team as specimens." The final blow to Day's confidence came when a human soldier stepped forward, carrying Quan's ceremonial vest, the one containing trophies from countless hunts across the stars. With deliberate slowness, the soldier added something new to the collection, a piece of Tekra armor, taken from one of the fallen hunters. In that moment, Day understood with perfect clarity what had happened. They had traveled across the galaxy seeking worthy prey, only to discover they had been prey all along. The humans hadn't just defended themselves, they had turned the hunt itself against the hunters. As dawn broke over the forest, the remaining Tekra hunters found themselves captured, their technology confiscated, their communication with their homeworld cut off. Their greatest miscalculation hadn't been underestimating human weapons or defenses. It had been failing to recognize that humans themselves were the most dangerous predators their species had ever encountered. Commander Day had never imagined himself as a prisoner. For 3 decades he had been the one who trapped, who pursued, who claimed victory. Now he sat in a sterile room deep beneath the Earth's surface, his wrists bound with restraints fashioned from his own ship's materials. The humans had learned, quickly, ordinary metal couldn't hold a Tekra's strength. The door slid open and a human female entered. She wore a white coat over practical clothing, her hair pulled back tightly. Unlike the soldiers who had captured him, she carried no visible weapons. "I am Dr. Sue," she said, sitting across from him. "I've been assigned to communicate with you." Day remained silent, his 4 eyes studying her with a mixture of caution and curiosity. "You must have questions," she continued, setting a tablet on the table between them. "As do we. I hope we can answer them for each other." "Why am I still alive?" Day finally asked. "Your kind should have killed me, taken trophies as we would have done." Dr. Sue's expression remained neutral. "That's not our way, at least not the way of most humans. We value life, even the lives of those who threaten us." "Weakness," Day scoffed. "Is it?" She tapped her tablet, bringing up images that made Day's breath catch. "These are the remnants of previous alien encounters. Some from decades ago, others more recent. You weren't the first to discover Earth, Commander. Just the first in a long time to announce your intentions so clearly." The images showed fragments of technology not unlike his own, pieces of ships, weapons, even biological samples preserved in human laboratories. "You're saying you've faced others like us before?" "Not exactly like you," Dr. Sue corrected. "Some came to observe, others with intentions we never fully understood. A few, like your kind, came to hunt. None succeeded." Outside the interrogation room, Colonel Sung and Captain June watched through a one-way window, evaluating every reaction from the alien prisoner. "She's doing well," June commented. "He's engaging." Sung nodded. "Dr. Sue has a gift for communication. If anyone can extract the information we need, it's her." Inside, the conversation continued. Dr. Sue had moved to questions about the Tekra homeworld, their technology, their social structure, and most importantly, whether more hunters would come looking for their missing comrades. Your species fascinates me, Day admitted after nearly an hour of careful exchanges. On 17 worlds, we've hunted the dominant species. None have ever reversed the hunt as you did. What made us different? Dr. Sue asked. Day's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. You adapted, used our own methods against us. Most prey runs or fights directly. You observed, learned, then struck when you understood our weaknesses. That's human nature, she explained. Our greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to adapt, to cooperate, to solve problems collectively. As days passed, Day found himself increasingly intrigued by his captors. They treated him not as a trophy or even an enemy, but as a source of knowledge. They asked about stars he had visited, species he had encountered, technologies his people had developed. In return, they shared information about Earth, its diverse ecosystems, its complex history, its myriad cultures. Dr. Sue explained how humans had evolved as cooperative hunters, how their societies had developed through sharing knowledge across generations. During one session, Ranger Hana joined them. Dai recognized her immediately as the human who had first wounded Quan and later captured him. You fought well, he acknowledged, the closest a Tekra could come to expressing respect for a former adversary. I fought to survive, she replied simply, just like any creature you've hunted across the stars. But unlike them, you won. Hana studied him for a moment. We didn't win. We just refused to be prey. The statement lingered with Day long after she left. In his culture, there were only hunters and prey, victors and trophies. The human perspective suggested something more complex, a universe where species might interact in ways beyond predation. 1 month after his capture, Day was brought to a larger facility. Through reinforced windows, he could see his ship, now partially disassembled as human scientists studied its systems. Colonel Sung met him there, flanked by security personnel. We've reached a decision about your fate, Commander Day. Day straightened his posture, preparing for execution. In Tekra culture, captured hunters face death with dignity. We're offering you a choice, Sung continued. Death or service as an ambassador? Ambassador? The word was foreign to Day. Nothing in his training as a hunter had prepared him for diplomacy. Your mothership has been attempting to contact your hunting party. Soon they'll send others to investigate. We want you to deliver a message. Day's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of surprise. What message? That Earth is now a protected planet, that those who come here hunting will find themselves hunted, and that we're prepared to defend ourselves by any means necessary. For the first time in his life, Day considered a path that involved neither hunting nor being hunted. And if I agree to deliver this message, then you live. You return to your people with knowledge instead of trophies. That evening, alone in his quarters, Day reflected on everything he had learned about humans. They could have mounted his head on a wall. Instead, they offered him a future. They could have stolen his technology to hunt his kind. Instead, they sought understanding. 1 week later, under heavy guard, Day was escorted to a small craft fashioned from parts of his original vessel. Engineers had modified it for a single pilot, just enough to reach the Tekra mothership still lurking at the edge of the solar system. Dr. Sue handed him a small device. This contains information about Earth, our message to your leaders, along with data that proves our capability to defend ourselves. They may not listen, Day warned. Then they'll learn the hard way as you did, she replied. But I believe you can make them understand. As the craft lifted off, carrying the first ever Tekra ambassador instead of a hunter, Day watched the blue-green planet recede beneath him. His people had always prized the collection of trophies, physical proof of dominance over lesser species. He carried no trophies from Earth. Instead, he carried something far more valuable, the understanding that true superiority wasn't measured in kills or collections, but in the wisdom to know when not to hunt at all. In the control room on Earth, Dr. Sue and Colonel Sung watched the alien craft disappear into the upper atmosphere. Do you think he'll deliver the message? Sung asked. Dr. Sue nodded slowly. I do. He learned something here that changed him, something his people need to understand. If they're going to survive in a universe where not everything is prey. As humanity's first alien ambassador departed, Earth's defenders remained vigilant. They had faced their first open contact with hostile extraterrestrial life, and not only survived, but turned predators into messengers of peace. Whatever came next, they would be ready. The hunters had arrived on Earth seeking prey, only to discover that sometimes the most dangerous prey of all is the one that refuses to be hunted.